What did people say? Something? Look, Shulamit Aloni died a week, 5 years ago, and Yossi Sared said that nobody was indifferent to her. Some people loved her, and others hated her, but nobody remained indifferent. And I want to tell you that this is one of the most significant things in the new politics. The moment we have Facebook and politicians don't have the capability to play on in the court, in ball court, especially if they have positions. I think this statement that you cannot be indifferent, either you totally against, or you love, or you appreciate, or you're going with, that's something that typifies politicians with positions. You know, they're very wide scope in our political arena where it's lacking. And that's something which is very unfortunate, and it's lacking. So this issue of leftists, the leftist has become a dirty word. You come up on a podium in a place that I suppose, I'll talk about your political views, but I suppose that you're not far from the INSS plan, but when you come up on the podium, people yell terrible things. They call you leftist because of what? What are you? Look, the propaganda campaign of the right is very noisy, very voicey, and very effective. And it's organized, and it's directed, and so funded with foreign money. Apropos the persecution of the left organizations. Why does the extreme right do it? Based on what are you saying it? I can check it now. I'll give you all the facts, including contributors that the Prime Minister mobilized to voice his messages. Everything is known, but why does the extreme right do it? I understand, because the left is the main threat, and that's what poses an alternative. Well, why the center? The center, why did they swallow this scheme and now start sticking to the right, to stammer, to round the corners? Why we're talking about commentators and commanders from the army? They lose their tongue when they run in politics. That's something that I don't understand. And my message is that there's no alternative without alternative that's based on values. We have to ask what kind of a worldview, what are the positions and the values that are an alternative to the extreme right. And the last 4 years, it's not with 30 seats, or 60, we're talking about 6 or 5. There are parties here and leaders that are now leading Israel, and they are. This is a mirror image of the Rabin situation. But at a certain way, the worldview that you kept throughout the years, that spoke about the solution of the two states and the possibility just to extend their hand, and of course the other side will say yes, the public eventually saw that it didn't hold water. It's exactly the opposite. Because at the end of the day, the formula of the two states, with all the details, and by the way, Meretz was the clearest voice throughout the years, till today. The clearest voice for that perception has become the formula, and there's no other. And today as well, everybody knows, including the Prime Minister himself, and of course all the security people and people who are dealing with the national security know it. At the moment, the Israeli PM is going to walk into a room, he's going to come out with Meretz's plan. This is the reason why Netanyahu is not interested to go walk into the room, because he knows that this room. But I just want to make it difficult for you. Look, I'll ask it differently. If I look at the political map, then I agree with you that Meretz is a mirror image of the Jewish home. These are ideological parties that go to the end with their ideology. They're very, very small. And we are the only one that is rising now in numbers, maybe. But look, we'll see what happens tomorrow. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Now we have a reality show with Lapid and all the others. Yes, but Meretz is the only one who's been there forever, says Tamar. But maybe the reason that these two parties are shrinking is because of the fact that there are loyal kind of parties. And I want to ask you, throughout the years, where did the reality speak to you in the political way? I thought this, but I found that it's not exactly, that the Palestinians are just waiting and we are the problem and the Palestinians are ready to sit down tomorrow morning. Where did you change your perception? Look, the question is not where the problem is. The question is, what do we do in order to solve it? The solution that you started your political life, the political solution is identical to the one that you think today. Yes, unequivocally. It's also identical to the solution that will finally happen. You have to understand, at the moment, we have a reality whereby the right is denying the problem. The center deals with explaining that there's no solution. And this perception, not only it's against reality, but it's also anti-Zionist, because Zionism throughout 120 years was busy with finding solutions and pursuing them and knocking on doors and going to Balfour and to the Tsar and to the Sultan in order to obtain what we want, and our vision from a very weak position and persecuted. And today we are maybe the strongest. We have a strong military. We have a state in the OECD. We have great power. Today we deal with victimizing ourselves and looking for guilty people. And I'm asking, where is this initiative? When the situations, the geopolitical situation today, the reality, the conditions are here. The superpowers of the world, the United States, Russia, are competing between them to host a regional and bilateral peace conference. And the alliances changed here. Israel is a guest of honor in the right alliance when it depends inter alia in the capability to solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But the Prime Minister knows, and therefore he refuses and shuts his eyes that he has to pay a political price in the settlements. And today in the political reality, together with the corruption, there is an alliance between corruption and settlements. The extreme right is covering up of the corruption of the Prime Minister, and he gives them political silence in the settlements and against the Israeli interest. And this is a reality that nobody talks about. Just notice that from all the referendums and the polls before the hearing, after the hearing, with the Likud or not, yes, the extreme right is the one that says specifically we're going to sit even after indictment and after the hearing. Why? Because we get our bribe, so to speak, and because it's going to be irreversible in the political situation. And this is the point I want to hear from you. At the time left for us, I want to talk about the disengagement. No question, it compelled us to think again and to cope with the results of disengagement, that you actually formulate your next stage. What did you learn from, what lessons did you learn? Because the public says, look, we left Gaza, what did we get? Missiles. So every political plan has to be that we maintain our security control. It's right for the NSS plan or the American, if we talk about the Jordan Valley or state minus. Where are you in this issue? First of all, truth should be told. At the moment, we have two scapegoats. One is Oslo, and the other one is the disengagement. That the Prime Minister and the right, they use it as scapegoats. Truth has to be told. The reason that today we enjoy security quiet as a result of Oslo Oslo, the slandered Oslo, another element that you hear from all the security people, that one of the reasons there's quiet is that Israel now controls the area. It comes in and out without poking at the eye. But this control, we are there for a long time. That's the thing that jeopardizes security, and the need to protect the settlements. That's what jeopardizes the security. It doesn't maintain it. The security collaboration with the PA is what gives us the quiet, and also the disagreement. Prime Minister Sharon took the chestnuts out of the oven. Nobody offers today to reconquer Gaza and to settle settlers there, even not the right wing. Why? Because that's what enabled Netanyahu to stand on the border and to do business with the Hamas without having to evacuate settlements, only to keep his head above water. That's why everybody criticizes him with the Qatari money and everything that's happening there, because he knows very well that a real political step has to be together with the West Bank, because after all, it's the same Palestinian people together with Abu Mazen. And at the end of this way is the big demon that Netanyahu cannot live with, and that is evacuation of settlements. Finally, this is the reality. This is the truth. All the people of the security know it, and everybody, all the mayors in Gaza, and the prime minister knows it. He knows that the moment he walks into the room, this leads you there. And at the end, the very end, you know, as Meretz, we are used to be in a place where the things that we say at a certain point, all our camp says it 10 years later, and then they become reality after 20 years. It happened to us in many, many subjects, from the feminist revolution up to the two-state solution, and it's true today as well. Can you say actually that the voice of Meretz is the voice of opposition? No, I can say the opposite. I can say that without Meretz, every government is a right-wing government. Without Meretz, there's no left-center government, and without Meretz, even the opposition is not really an opposition, because Meretz is either a voice to incentivize the government, or as an opposition against the right-wing government. We live in democracy. If the public will elect a right-wing government, we're going to be in the opposition. But without Meretz, a government, the center links itself to the right. And we saw all the parties of the center sat with Netanyahu in the government, can sit with him again. All this chair games, who is going to be where, is completely ridiculous without the valued alternative that tells us where are we going to, with this government. That's Meretz. But finally, I think that many voters that will have to make it a decision, you know, they stood there in the ballot bowl and they say, Meretz, we can identify with the democratic values, but at the end of the day, they'll have to make a decision whether they want to replace Netanyahu or not. And finally, they'll either vote for Gantz and Lapid rather than for Meretz. First of all, a vote to Meretz is a safe vote to everything we believe in it, Israel the way we want to see it, and that the right is attacking. So in this situation, this strategic consideration and the question how we're going to engineer our vote loses its importance vis-à-vis the fight on the image of the state of Israel, if we want to say it. But having said that, a vote to Meretz is a safe vote in this bloc. How long have you been leading the Meretz party now? 10 months? Give me the most difficult moment you had in the last 10 months. It didn't happen yet. I'm not summarizing anything. I'm now just before my first election campaign. I'm very optimistic. I believe that there's a real value-based choice between extreme right, which is devastating, and the left that starts from its worldview. And I'm sure that many people, and I see it every day, much greater people than those who voted Meretz last time, support Meretz today. My message is one. If you think Meretz, you vote Meretz. And I'm thinking that the biggest mistake, I said that the Okay, thank you very much, and I'm now going to call upon the next interviewee and vote Meretz.